Hi, my name is Leah. I use she, her pronouns, and today we are doing a how to prep for a new semester video. If you've watched my videos before, you know this channel stands for PEP, or Positivity, Education, People, and Planet, and today's video will be focusing on education. The first step to preparing for a new semester is establishing your morning routine. That includes waking up, first of all, hydrating, and getting dressed, and brushing your teeth, because hygiene is important. Another tip to make sure you have a productive day is to try not to go on your phone first thing when you wake up. I know it's hard because normally they are our alarm clocks, but I find that I find myself in bed for an extra hour and a half in the morning if the first thing I do is go on my phone. But someone said that the first 12 minutes or something after waking up, you're still in kind of a waking up mode. So if you can try to read or do something else, that would be much more beneficial than looking straight at a screen. After that, hydration and breakfast are all very important because you need to make sure you have a nutritious meal at the beginning of the day. Sometimes it's hard because if you wake up around 11, then you're having a brunch, except for the school year, you're going to have to maybe get yourself up a little bit earlier than expected. So you should try to plan to have at least 2 to 3 meals a day. So if you wake up at 9, you have breakfast at 9, lunch maybe at 12 or 1, and then dinner at whatever time you eat dinner. I also mentioned getting dressed, and this is a very important step that you don't want to skip. Getting dressed is so important for motivating us to be productive and get work done. When I'm in my pajamas all day, or don't shower, or just don't self-hygiene, then I feel like I'm just a slob and can't do much. But if I put makeup on and brush my hair and brush my teeth and get dressed, which are all things we should be doing every day, then we will find ourselves in a much more productive state. Now, don't feel bad if you don't do it. It's been really hard to do this over quarantine and establish a good routine, but that's why I'm creating this video, to help you guys establish this new routine before getting into the new school semester. Another thing I like to do to prepare for school is writing to-do lists. So I watched on YouTube, and they are like experts at writing to-do lists, and it might seem like a small thing to do or that you're overwhelmed, but when you write a to-do list the night before or the morning of your day, you will find yourself accomplishing more because you have all of your tasks on one page and then you just cross them off as you go. Now, this can be harder for some people because they don't know how to differentiate or prioritize. So sometimes you can write the big 3 at the top, so your main 3 that you want to get done, and then your other ones that are just kind of, well, if I have time, then that's good. Another thing I do when I'm writing my to-do lists are realize my privilege. So instead of things I have to do today, which frames the day in a more negative state, I say things I get to do today. So it's a more positive way of looking at your day. I find it very hard to motivate myself these days, so if you can even write a few small things on your to-do list, such as waking up, hydrating, brushing your teeth, making your bed, you will feel so accomplished because you are checking off 4 small tasks. But it's important to celebrate the small wins so that when you celebrate a big win, you'll feel even better and that you have the continuous motivation throughout the day. Once you've established a routine for yourself, the next thing you need to consider is balance. So there are many different bubbles that, bubble isn't the right word because of COVID, but there are many different spheres that play into who we are. So exercise and physical health, our mental health, our friends, our family, our work, our school. So it's important to make sure you're balancing all of those things. Some things that are proven to help brain function are meditating and exercising. So if you can incorporate those into your routine, then that would be a really good way to help keep yourself productive and motivated. And then for school, you need to try to figure out a routine or schedule that works for you. I know that scheduling off time blocks does not work for me, because if it's like 11:01 but I've scheduled something from 11 to 12, I'll be like, oh well, it's 1 minute past, like kind of the hour is wasted. Whereas that's not really how I should go about it, and it's a learning process for me too, and we should all learn to schedule the way that works best for us. One way that I'm starting to prioritize school is by waking up earlier. So I'm going to try to be waking up at around 7:45 or 8 every morning, and that way I have the morning to get ready, do all those preparatory things that I said in the morning routine, and then I can start schoolwork before I have class. And throughout the entire day, I will be doing schoolwork and treating my school like a 9 to 5 job, and then in the evenings I'll have time to relax and spend time with family. If you're a night owl though, that won't work. So your brain might turn on at 10 p.m. and work until 1 a.m. And so for you, it might be sleeping until 11, but then by noon you're on the go and making sure that all your classes and schoolwork are done, and then you have a few hours in the evening to yourself, and then you start your homework at 10. Again, this is all subjective, and I'm just sharing my tips because they might help you guys, and if you guys have your own routine that works for you, please comment it down below. I would love to hear from you. Lastly, it's important, well, not lastly, it's important to acknowledge our friends and family. During this time of COVID, there are no people interactions other than our family, so you might be going a little bit insane at home, and that's totally normal. I think the best way to address this issue is by reaching out to your friends. I put out a poll on my Instagram story asking if people enjoyed impromptu calls or not. You could even put a poll on your own story and ask, because then the people that vote yes, you could just impromptu call them, and I'm sure they would be delighted. But if they don't enjoy that, maybe just send them a text and check in. It's important that we're still connecting even when we can't see each other in person, because everyone is longing for the connection. It's just a matter of taking the first step of reaching out. The next step is having your school supplies. So your materials are very important. So to be motivated, you have to make taking notes enjoyable. And part of that is collecting all of the supplies that you need. So I'm gonna take you guys on a little tour of what supplies I've gathered to start my second semester. So part of having good materials are making sure you have a planner. So this is my planner from Staples. And I also have a few notebooks. So, satisfying. This is the one from Dollarama, which is just blank, and I just enjoy how it writes. And then these four were 10 cents from Staples, and there are only 80 pages, but it's one for every subject that I'm taking. So this is probably my favorite part of materials. I've got my Art & Fly dual brush tip pens. I have some metallic Sharpies and my highlighters, and then just my everyday pens and pencils. So this is the Art & Fly dual brush pen. So on one end it has a brush, and then on the other end it's just a fine tip. In here I just have my blue light glasses from Staples, as I showed in my desk video. So they just block out the blue light if I'm staring at the computer for too long. They are not Ray-Bans. These are probably some of my favorite pens to write with. They are the Papermate Inkjoy 0.5 gel pen, and they are super nice, and they glide, and they don't really smudge if you highlight over them. I also have these two, so the Pilot G2 0.5 from my mom for Christmas, and then the Pentel Energel liquid gel. I believe this is, 0.5, and it's got a needle tip, and it's super nice, does not bleed through the pages, and it doesn't smudge when you highlight over it. And last but not least, we have this Pentel Energized pencil. So it's just a mechanical pencil where you push out the lead, and then if you take off the tip at the back, you can just expose the eraser. And then this is just a white pen from Art & Fly, so I can go over any black text that I write. Now, if you're like me and you don't necessarily want to handwrite all of your online university notes, there's this app called Microsoft OneNote from Office 365 that I would highly recommend getting. The general layout of OneNote looks like this, where you have a notebook, and then within your notebook you have these different sections, and then a page or multiple pages in every section. The next step is to have a calendar system. I like to use Google Calendar, and I know other people like to use Apple calendars, and I'm not sure about Android calendars or how that works out. Well, actually I have 3 calendar systems. So this is my flip calendar I just put on my bulletin board, and then I also have my planner inside my desk, which I showed you guys already, and then I use Google Calendar as well. So for my flip calendar, this is what it looks like for January. It's plain, and I'm just writing in black a few due dates that I have, and every month I will rewrite the due dates, and I just love that I can hang it onto my bulletin board. As for my weekly planner, I have all my classes here, and then throughout the week, so this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday are on the bottom, and I just plan out my week at the beginning of every week or at the end of every previous week, so on Sunday nights or Monday mornings. Now, most university students that I know will have 5 courses per semester. That can be a little bit challenging. For me, I'm taking 4 3-unit courses, and then I'm also taking a few 1-unit courses. But if you are doing 5, that's totally okay. But an important point is to color code. So I know a lot of people have certain colors for certain classes, so I want you to comment down below which class you think belongs with which color. So color coding can be different for everyone. For me, personally, I see psychology and science as blue, and purple has been French, orange or red has been math, but I know a lot of people have different opinions on that, so color code to your heart's extent. One thing I like to do is match the colors that I have in markers to the colors that they provide on OneNote so that the notebooks can be paired up with the exact same color on paper or on the computer. This next step is very crucial, and it is reading your course syllabi. If your professors are ahead like mine are, they likely already have their course syllabi up on whatever website that you use for your school. For me, I have 3 out of my 4 course syllabi, and so I need to go read through those and highlight all of the important dates. So I just finished reading all of my course syllabi that were available. I know I printed them, and if you're doing stuff online, you don't necessarily have to, but I like to write pen on paper just for the syllabi, and then I do pretty much all of my other notes online. Some few things I write in a notebook, but mostly online. So I am still trying to save the trees and the planet. Your next step after you highlight your course syllabi is to write down all of the due dates in said calendar options. So I tend to put them all in Google Calendar first because then they can easily be rearranged, and then I'll write them temporarily in my weekly and flip calendar. Another important step is to gather, well, it's part of materials, but make sure you have your textbooks. Some will say in the course syllabi that they are all available online and you can just click the link and do the readings there, whereas other ones may require you to purchase a textbook. And if you are buying textbooks, I highly suggest buying a used one first, unless it's a new edition that they're using, and they strongly recommend that you don't use a previous version. But there are several Facebook groups and other types of websites that you can go to, or go to your university's campus bookstore and see if you can purchase it there. And the last step is to just clean and clear your workspace. As I said in one of my videos, cleaning a workspace is very important because I see my workspace as a representation of my mind. So if my workspace is cluttered, then I have a way harder time getting focused. But if my workspace is clean, then I feel like my brain is fresh and ready to start a new day. And that is the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I think this is probably one of my longest videos yet. I really appreciate all of the support and you guys watching my videos. They are not easy to make. It takes a lot of effort, especially editing. That's probably what takes the longest. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you liked this video, be sure to like it down below. Don't forget to subscribe. I post every Wednesday. And if you forget I post every Wednesday, you can turn the little bell icon on. And don't forget to friend me on Instagram. I would love to see what you guys have to recommend for video ideas and just interact with you more. But that's it for today, and I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to be happy and stay sweet. Bye!